Hey everyone, welcome back to the Duchess of Unicorn YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the future of Meghan and her drive to create a foundation or a charity, or can it be both? It feels like she's really desperate. She has a desperate drive, a yearning that's attached to her self-worth to create an organization that's humanitarian based and that offers a way to have her help other organizations or other foundations or charities. So it's kind of a little bit confusing because we saw the Sussex Royal turn into from a brand to sell and promote things to someone who says a lot of regurgitated inspirational type things to a page that just posts pictures that we've already seen and just constantly have people's criticism that they type and send over deleted. So now the Sussex Royal, the whole website, the foundation, everything has been squashed by Queen Elizabeth. So I'm so confused about where she's trying to go and what vision she has, and how she's laying this out for the public, that I wanted to just go over just a couple of things. So a foundation, a nonprofit, okay, and this is Wikipedia. A foundation, also a charitable foundation, is a category of nonprofit organization or charitable trust that will typically provide funding and support for other charitable organizations. So hence how she did the voiceover work for Disney and then said she didn't get paid. Well, she didn't say she didn't get paid, but she said funds went to Elephants Without Borders, some kind of a organization that I think is based, I think the Mike Chase, which is the executive director, I believe, he is based or did his PhD in Boston, Massachusetts. So for some reason, Harry and her are very into this. So they did this voiceover work. Meghan Markle did the voiceover work for Disney, and then Disney cut a check to Elephants Without Borders on behalf of Meghan Markle because it's her charity that she feels, a sense of pride for. It's not her charity, but she and Harry have this immense love for this Elephants Without Borders. Okay. But before she met Harry, she never knew that an organization existed. So, okay. So let me continue reading. So, okay. So let's go forward through grants, but it may engage directly in charitable activities. Foundations include public charitable foundations such as, and they're naming a couple, community foundations and private foundations, which are typically endowed by an individual or family. So it would be endowed by, say, Meghan and Harry. And however, the term foundation may be used by organizations that are not involved in public grant making. So we're still in the dark about what kind of foundation or charity she'd like to create. Because basically, Meghan Markle is not a person who does lunch with the ladies. I don't get the feeling that she has a lot of friends that are in a higher position and status in life. Like she doesn't have like a BFF that's the Queen of Spain or the Princess of, I don't know, Monaco. She doesn't have that type of circle. She seems to have people in celebrity status that seem to want to, and that seems, I don't know for sure, but seems that they want or would be viable for something in this arena. And perhaps there's been mention of the Obamas and things like that. But really, when I see Obama, Michelle, and Barack in the same room as her, being in an interview or what have you, then I'll believe it. Okay. So I went through the definition on Wikipedia for what a foundation is, and it can be a charitable foundation, and it has and it's endowed by an individual or family. So it can be endowed by, say, Meghan and Harry. It can be an endowment by them. They can pour their own money into it if they want, but they can also accept, donations into that charity. And then they themselves donate money in that they accumulate into another organization, if you will. And it's also a way that people launder money as well. Say it's going here and then they misappropriate funds. When you think of it, you can think of other big foundations. And everybody has a big foundation. The Clintons have they have their foundation. Obama has his foundation. Many people, even President Trump had a foundation until I think he became president and it was court ordered to dissolve his foundation. So I'm not sure, but that's not what we're talking about here. But a lot of wealthy people have foundations. I wonder about that. Think about what I just said. A lot of wealthy people have foundations, charities, and you often hear a lot about money laundering or misappropriating those funds for personal use. So let's look at the word endowment. A financial endowment is a legal structure for managing and in many cases indefinitely perpetuating a pool of financial, real estate, or other investments for a specific purpose according to the will of its founders and donors. So perpetuating a pool of financial, real estate, or other investments for a specific purpose, according to the will of its founders and donors. Okay, so in the case of Meghan Markle, she creates a foundation that's a charitable, foundation that she can be the endowment of her and her husband, or maybe even her or her family, and whatever she decides to steer that to. Maybe it is to animals, maybe it is humanitarian in general, maybe it is to save the world. Whatever it is, it's at the will of its founders and donors. So donors would make the donation if they were in line with what the founders feel the foundation should be going, the charity should be going. Endowments are often structured so that the principal value is kept intact, while the investment income or a small part of the principal is available for use each year. So I'm not a real estate mogul, but I think that, if you donate $1,000 to this charity, it stays intact. But perhaps it's how do I say? It has it runs like in your bank, it runs interest. That's the word that was escaping me. So the interest is what can be used, let's say. I know it's a small amount, 1,000, but these people put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a foundation, 50,000, 20,000, 15,000, so the interest on that alone, if it's in the right account, could be used to have a donation. Or a small part of the principal is available for use each year. So whatever it is, it comes around mainly once a year where they can disperse funds. And that means, you can give those grants out. You can really use the money to apply to something that you can see or feel. Endowments are often governed by and managed either as a nonprofit corporation or a charitable foundation, or a private foundation that, while serving a good cause, might not qualify as a public charity. In some jurisdictions, it is common for endowment funds to be established as a trust, independent of the organizations or causes the endowment meant to serve. Institutions that commonly manage endowments include academic institutions, cultural institutions, museums, libraries, and theaters, service organizations, hospitals, retirement homes, Red Cross, SPCA, and religious organizations, churches, synagogues, mosques. Private endowments are some of the wealthiest entities in the world, notably private higher education endowments, like Harvard University's endowment, valued at $40.9 billion as of 2019, the largest academic endowment in the world. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of the wealthiest private foundations as of 2009, with an endowment of $46.8 billion as of December 2018. So if we go back, that was the whole point of finding out what foundation, what charitable foundation. Is it going to be a private foundation? Well, I'm thinking Meghan might do a private foundation because she wouldn't want anybody else to really have privy to peek into where the funds exactly are going. Because usually with like nonprofit, they show their financials at the end of the year so that anybody can look to see where the money has been dispersed. So I feel like Meghan would do a private foundation. And if it's a charity, well, that would be that big word charity. Everybody thinks that, oh, it's going to the children. And so, or it's going to homeless. And so we don't really know what she's going to. When you say humanitarian, to me, that's a wide open book. So let's see if she gets more specific. And also, we look at foundations. We also look at let's look at the Clinton Foundation just right quick. The Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation improves lives across the United States and around the world by creating economic opportunity, rebuilding in the wake of a natural disaster, helping farmers improve their livelihoods, combating climate change, etc., etc., setting children up for a strong start in school, fighting the opioid crisis, and helping kids lead healthier lives. Now, they do an awful lot, but yet, in my neck of the woods, which is part of the United States, I've never once heard of the Clinton Foundation donating any money. But that doesn't mean anything because there's hundreds of, if not thousands, of businesses that could be applying for a grant or something from the Clinton Foundation and may have received it. I wouldn't know because I don't know every single business within the United States or even my area that may have applied for a grant. Maybe they didn't get it and maybe they have gotten it. So it's hard for the everyday average person to know how much money in terms that the Clinton Foundation has given in a realistic way to the everyday average business. So they talk a good talk on their website, and I'm sure they have helped people. But when you think about it, how is anybody of small means going to be able to check up on the Clinton Foundation to make sure that they're appropriating the funds properly? Now, I believe that every time someone is a president, they can have a foundation. Because we see, like, it's like there's probably a Bush Foundation too, but let's click on the Obama Foundation. And believe it, that Meghan will try to model her foundation close to some of the biggest, most well-known foundations. Especially because she thinks she is them. She is as powerful and important as them, and again, infamous. This is the Obama Foundation, and let's see. 10 years later, President Obama reflects on why the night The Affordable Care Act meant more to him than the night he was elected. Okay, Mrs. Obama shares a message on International Women's Day. So these are all great things, but again, have you known any recipients of a grant from the Obama Foundation? I have not, but these are things that can be found. Let's look at their mission. On a HIT mission, our mission is to inspire, empower, and connect people to change their world. This sounds a lot like a Meghan front, like something Meghan would be so inclined to gravitate towards. The mission begins at home on the south side of Chicago. Well, for Meghan, it would probably be somewhere where she's used to. Maybe it could be something in England, but it could in Britain, but it could also be somewhere in the United States. LA, you know, let's see. That mission begins at home in south side of Chicago, where we are building the Obama Presidential Center. But it extends to all our work, whether it's holding leadership training sessions in communities throughout the U.S., bringing local leaders together in countries around the world, working to support the global education of girls, or ensuring young men of color have pathways to opportunity. So we see this. Now, let's see if another bigwig who's been having a lot of flack lately, which is Oprah's 66 years old. Let's see if Oprah has a foundation. I know she does a lot of philanthropist work. Oprah Winfrey Charitable Foundation. So again, like I said, a lot of wealthy people have foundations, and it is a way to kind of help have things funneled into an account. And also it's a family foundation. So I'm assuming that she's the person who is the endowment, she's the endower. She's the person who's endowed to this foundation, if I'm saying that properly. 90% of foundations don't have websites. Okay, whatever. Candid. We don't want to go into all of it because this is not about Oprah Winfrey's, but we can just kind of get an idea. Established in 2010 in Illinois, founded by Oprah G. Winfrey, a talk show host, actress, and businesswoman. Her popular television talk show aired nationally 1986 to 2011. She was the founder of Hoppo Productions, which is a multimedia production company. Its television credit includes Oprah Winfrey Show, Dr. Phil, Rachel Ray, The Oprah Winfrey Show. Okay, we said that already. Received 3 Daytime Emmy Awards in the categories of Outstanding Host. Okay, so we see all her credits and all her acting. That's what I think that you'll see on Meghan Markle's foundation, charitable foundation. You'll see a lot about her and the about, and I don't think that she'd want to do that, because just saying that you were on USA Suits and that you did some commercial work and you were the first person as a little 8-year-old or 9-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever she was, to ask a company to change their commercial, which I find interesting. And it says to me a lot, because usually companies don't give a crap what a little kid says. That makes a lot of sense, and it makes you wonder who else had a hand in that. Okay, so I don't want to go into too much, but I wanted to point out that here we have Meghan Markle and Prince Harry getting ready to launch a whole nother foundation or charity, because it seems she's driven in some personal need to be thought of as a humanitarian, and to give money, access, I should say, to supply a place where she can give out money to help other charities. And that makes me wonder, why don't you just use your own money? And of course, they probably will have to put a certain amount of money into a foundation to start with, and it may then escalate with donations. But will she do more of the same? Like, will she show her face on something to have money put into the foundation? And who is on the board of directors in this foundation? And again, who's going to make sure that funds are appropriated properly? And really, why is it that she feels that the world needs another foundation to help another cause where we all can't really measure the money that is being dispersed to these agencies in any real way? Like Elephants Without Borders. So they got Disney's check, and now, I guess now to check up on it, people have to go to Elephants Without Borders and kind of look at their financials as a nonprofit, I guess, if that's what they are, and look at it and see how this money was dispersed. And I want you to know, even though we see how it's been dispersed, sometimes it's not always accurate. All right, I want to end this video with that, showing that the definition of the definition of foundation is clear, and that anybody could really start a foundation. But of course, it's always better when you have people who you can do favors for, and you can show up with their clothes, and they can not pay you per se, but pay your foundation. And then you can take money out of your foundation, depending on how it's set up, or transfer money over to another business, and you can kind of put that money out there and dice it up. I mean, I just don't feel comfortable with that. And I feel like this new chief of staff is going to be short-lived, because I feel like, well, she was with the Bill Gates Foundation, so I feel like maybe it's not going to be so bad after all. Because really, nobody ever accuses Bill Gates of not being an honest individual and upfront. I'll leave it at that. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.